Don't worry, guys. If you make it out of here alive, I'm sending you to a much nicer place.
Oh,
wonderful.
That's nice.
That's
That's
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Well,
It's from getting here to there. That's the trick.
That's the trick, yeah.
You'll be able to buy pants.
Wearing
I can
pants.
buy pants now.
Who needs pants?
You're going to be made fun of for your lack of pants. Anyway,
We have pants, don't we?
you have
We
thongs.
we are a desert people. We have pants.
Basically, what he's trying to imply is that if he does not get this mask back to this gentleman, then Odin's word is not worth really a lot.
that is fair.
Yeah.
Which is really bad.
Yeah, that's not
very
super
bad.
good.
Gotta
Get some bad Yelp reviews.
So it's like the word of Odin on Fate, Yelp reviews.
It's like
1 out of 5
great
stars.
food, great food. Stuff gets stolen though.
Well,
Service is okay.
I want to imagine that just like somebody, just like there's a Yelp page about Odin, and there's just like internet trolls just writing a really bad review.
Just Odin can't keep an eye on one mask.
Oh.
He's only got one.
But by internet trolls, you totally mean frost giants, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, 100%. I'm just now
Like,
just
oh, this
imagining
guy's a total
frost
frost
giants
giant.
on the internet.
Okay. What was that, Sam?
The audience is cheering a lot for Howie. There's a lot of, like, really good ones. It's Howie, Wowie, Howie, Howie, Zowie, Break the Douchador.
Door! Oh my god! Douchador, I love it.
Yes!
Oh, I want that on a
How many
shirt
people-
now.
welcome back, one and all, to D20 Live and our final stream of the year. Someone applaud, please. 2023 has been rough for all of us. It's been challenging in different ways, but you know what? We all made it. We all got through it, and we are going to let our hair down the only way we can by telling each other stupid fucking stories. But it's not about me, though I am Big Mike. It is about the group of us, and I'm going to go from top to bottom alphabetically.
The group
starting
of us?
the group of the group.
The krill, the cream, the clippity clop.
Group always rises to the crawl.
The group always rises.
Oh, here we go.
I don't even know what the chat's saying.
Also, real quick before we start, thank you and happy birthday, Wandering Sage.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
birthday, Wandering Sage.
Happy birthday, Omede To.
So, let's introduce our gentlemen for the evening. Sounds like we're prostitutes. Starting off with Byron.
Hello, everybody. I'm Byron, player for D20 Live, and tonight I will be once again playing Lord Archibald Busybody. Oh, thank you.
Up next we have Ebenezer, which is actually Tom.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Tom Smith of the 404s and of D20 Live. And this session, I've taken a step back. I'm going to be a little less rich than I was last time, a little more cruel, and I'm just going to be Ebenezer Scrooge from the darkest timeline.
Following up, of course, we have Vangelis joining us for the first time not for D20 Live, but for Baron Munchausen.
I'm here for the very first time. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm Vangelis on the internet. Today I will be portraying Aloysius Huxley Pippin, who's an absolutely human man who is a fine purveyor of milk and cream products, one of the greatest out of North America.
And last but certainly not least, we have, of course, the Chief himself, Chief Macbeth.
Hello, I'm Connell Macbeth. I usually stream on Twitch under Chief Macbeth, and today I am going to, because I couldn't find my top hat, I decided to go for the more of a Jacques Cousteau look, and I'm going to be Vice Admiral Hamilton Burleton III.
And of course, on the moderator and on camera is our lovely technician and master of the evening, Samantha, who has not given us a name.
That's because you guys always give me a name every year.
Oh, we do, don't
yes.
we? What shall we
Lady Samsonite!
Lady Samsonite.
Lady Crackers Samsonite.
Anne has one that she would like.
Does she?
That's fine. I'm good with anything.
The Samsonian Taskmaster.
Here we go.
All right. So Sam has the prompts. As always, if the audience wishes to throw in a prompt for a question as we tell our elaborate stories for the day.
It is $5 if you want to bring in your own prompt. Tom has requested that if his story goes on too long, you may donate $1 to shut him up.
Well, I was going to do the reverse of if you want me to finish the story, it's $5 because I usually end up rambling for far too long.
And I do believe the survey is live right now.
The survey is live, and currently the moderators have the control of putting it inside the chats because thankfully I finally got Mix It Up working for this one.
Woo! If you would like to contribute to helping D20 Live grow and improve, you can voice your opinion about it in our survey. It will be going live until January, at which point we will be doing a Q&A stream just to round out what happened this year. But until then, let's get started. Who shall go first, gentlemen? Shall I roll a dice?
Well, shall we have the good lady introduce the game and introduce what we're going to be playing today?
Okay, so the game today is The Extraordinary Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Now, The Extraordinary Adventures of Baron Munchausen means that everybody who plays is a lord or lady, or whatever royal or just extravagant title that you could ever have, right? Many people choose to be either a baron themselves, but the Baron Munchausen has very graciously written out an entire memoir of how to play the game. Normally, you're supposed to play these with coins. However, we are over the internet, and therefore coins are a little more difficult. So instead, everybody just keep your points to yourself. At any point, I will be pointing out the prompts, and at which point the person who is telling the story shall tell the story within, I think it's supposed to be 2 minutes, but generally that's how it goes. And
we can make it 3.
3 minutes. 3 minutes is good. So basically within 3 minutes they have to come to a conclusion of the story, but at any point, any of the other players that are around, they can interrupt the storyteller at that point to interject and say, hey, what about this? Right? So they can try and bamboozle them, and it's up to the storyteller to actually get around it. Or they can spend one of their own points and say, shut up! And continue on with their story in general. Welcome to Baron Munchausen Online, where the names are made up and the coins don't matter.
Yeah,
That's very apt.
It's extremely accurate.
As Lord British intended.
All right. Hang on. I do realize that I need my own timer for this, because I'm the one who's in charge of time today, because I am the time master.
That's even better than Taskmaster.
I am the Time Master.
Isn't that just the Time Lord?
You're more of a Tempest Fugit, as it were.
All right. So who wants to go first?
I believe Michael said he wished to roll a die.
Yeah.
Right.
So 1, 2, 3. So we have 5 of us here. So I'm going to roll a d6. On a 6, Sam just picks who goes.
Oh, great.
All right. So from top to bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. First up is shit. It's me. All right, let's fucking do this. I don't even have a persona locked in my head. Ask me a question, harlot.
All right. Tell us the story of the Venetian masked ball where no man but every woman recognized you.
That's actually a very, very funny story. You see, while I was in Venice, I became known as something of a home wrecker. In that I was wrecking homes because my pants had not made it in transit. In doing my work in demolitions and restructuring, I remained quite pantsless throughout this thing. And as such, many women fainted on account of seeing my hellacious privates by virtue of the fact that they'd never seen quite a unique mole placement before.
Now, if I may interject, I think this is how the game works. I can add something to this. Is it not true that they referred to you as a home wrecker, not because of any sexual activities that you'd gotten up to, but because, due to your pants not being with you at present, your swinging great manhood was literally demolishing homes left and right while all the men were at work?
A wrecking ball.
a pair of wrecking balls, if you will.
That has less to do with the size of my Johnson and more the poor quality of Venetian maintenance in their buildings.
Yes, of course. Please continue.
I tell you, you could take out a whole city block with a reasonably sized chungalunga and a trip to the side. And as such, I became known as quite the wrecking ball aficionado, which added only to the detritus to the canal. So really, the homes weren't so much wrecked as they were pulled from their moorings and relocated down the canal.
Yes, your amazing Schwanstucker was seeking out moisture, as it were.
So it became such a sight around the afternoon tea of many, many, both young lady and dowager within the community, such that I believe there was an artistic competition to recreate it, both on paper and clay, and in one unique instance, beeswax.
Now, my lord, wasn't it in fact true that the main reason why the women of Venice recognized you at this ball was because you were wearing your impressive mask over your Schwanstucker?
I was. You see, because of the fact that I had still lost my pants, I required to make a judicious sub-pair of pants out of a mask, which I think we're all familiar with the Guy Fawkes mask and the moustache within it, correct? However, you'll notice that it in no way accommodates a male genitalia, so I had to hollow out the nose and place over it the nose of a tengu, which of course was culturally insensitive of me, which only drew more attention to the situation. And of course, I used no glue or adhesive to adhere the Tengu portion. So at a certain point, the Tengu portion was lost, and I was just running around with a free willy throughout the entirety of the party. And upon going through that circumstance, I was called many terrible words, which I would not repeat in mixed company or company of the same gender. However, I was able to...
You're done.
So I am.
We must move on to a different lord. I am so sorry.
Which would be known as the Guy Fawkes mask.
Yes.
He was!
All right. Shall I roll to see who goes next, or does someone want to volunteer?
I'll roll again.
All right. Put him up. Number 5. That is the chief.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
All right. Sorry, what is Chief's name for this one?
Vice Admiral Tamold Bubleton III.
All right. Vice Admiral, could you please tell us the story of your hunting trip that led to the downfall of the Ming Dynasty in China?
Yes, my lord.
Try to keep this as non-racist as possible.
You must tell us, what were you hunting?
So you know that I do enjoy a good hunt from time to time. That I have conquered many a beast and thing over the years, overcoming the Sasquatches of the Great White North, overcoming great sea serpents and beasts of the far South Americas, if you will. Then I decided that I was going to bring about the end of what could have been my greatest quarry of all time, architecture. And what architecture could have been greater than the Wall of China? Indeed, it would take more than any sword, sorcery, or rifle that I had in my possession. So I did. You will see. Paid with a great deal of laundry detergent, an army of pygmy homeless folk from a neighboring kingdom. That's right, I'm getting just a teensy bit racist, but for a different culture altogether.
But Vice Admiral,
yes.
How did you manage to pay such exorbitant tolls in order to get into the country of Qin?
Yes, of course. Well, you see, I only had on my possession at the time a signed document that got me in, that I only needed to turn over to the authorities, and that was an autographed photo of Michael's junk. So he tried to have a photo taken while he was destroying all of those Venetian homes without his trousers at present, and the photographer only caught him from the chin down. And he still signed the photo all the same, and we turned it over to the authorities forthwith, and they allowed me entrance immediately. And an almost limitless supply of laundry detergent. Please, yes, what's that?
I say humbug good to you, good sir. For I know the costs must have been outstanding for you to transport all of those miscreants across the border. How could you afford such a thing?
I had them all put in crates and labeled as shoes. And every time the border guards came up and knocked upon the crates and said, "Who's that in there? Is there anyone living in there?" they just simply screamed, "Shoes!" at the top of their lungs. And they went, "Right, so we're just going to say that's shoes because I'm too scared to open up a crate that screamed shoes at me." And I said, "I have painted on the side of the crate the word shoes. You must understand. It is footwear." And they go, "I wish to see my wife tonight. I will not argue with you, sir."
Vice Admiral, everyone knows that overseas they use different words than the word shoe. How on earth did you convince them to accept that?
We are out of time, unfortunately.
Oh, darn.
What the fuck?
Is 3 minutes long enough? I feel like we need to do this on Thursday.
Do we need to move to 5 minutes instead?
Well,
We had to move to 5 minutes, the exact same reason last time.
Yeah, we have to move to 5 minutes.
All right, Give Chief another 2 minutes.
Let's give Chief another 2 minutes. So that
My
he
story wasn't
Oh
going
yeah,
anywhere.
right.
His
The
is
regular
actually
rules
good.
are for mortal people, not us.
All right, Chief, you have another 2 minutes.
The shoes, good sir. How did you convince them to accept an English-speaking word?
Well, you see, every time I gave them their beloved laundry detergent, which they had sniffed up through their rectums, I simply just went, shoes, as I gave it to them, and it just, shoes again. And so when they all climbed into the crates, they were hungry for more of their drugs, you see. So they would scream, shoes, at the tops of their lungs, eager for more of their substance abuse. Once we got across the borders, I opened the crates and released a plague of drug-addled tiny peoples upon China, and undid the wall. Though great and industrious those people were, they did manage to rebuild the wall within a fortnight, but only after the Ming Dynasty was brought low.
But hold on, Vice Admiral. How did
Yes.
you do so without any tools?
Well, that's the thing that you don't know about the pygmies of the nation of Qin, as they have teeth that are made from extraordinarily hardened pudding.
I have no rebuttal.
Is that vanilla or banana pudding?
Chocolate. You
Unbelievable.
can't see when they smile and gnash their teeth at the dark. It looks like they don't have any teeth at all.
So they gummed the wall down, is what you're saying.
Oh no, they chewed through the wall with teeth that you can't see at night.
Invisible teeth, preposterous.
Not invisible, camouflage. It's very important when you're destroying architecture.
That makes much more sense. Thank you for clarifying.
Humbug! Humbug, I say, Lord Admiral, for you have miscontinued and forgotten one very important fact.
Oh, yes.
If the wall was indeed removed for a fortnight, what kept the Mongols out?
We're out of time actually for that one.
That's fair.
I wanted to
Oh, here we go.
You fool! You got into a storytelling contest with a man made of nonsense.
All right. Okay. Next up, we got 3 guys left who haven't told the story. Next up is Chris. You okay to go?
Yeah,
All right.
of course I am.
Sorry, what's Chris? Chris, what is your title? I can't remember.
I'm Commander Aloysius Huxley Pippin, fine purveyor of the MD Milk Organization.
All right, Commander, could you please regale us of the story of your invasion of Italy with the army of 300 tigers?
Oh, that was mere simplicity. That was a summer dalliance. I was very bored that year, being successful and human. So I decided, why employ humans to make my business venture spike into Italy? Instead, why not hire 300 tigers? They're often bound to very certain jobs, like eating animals or working in the circus. Both very fine industries, but there's a whole lot more that Aloysius Huxley Pippin can offer to a quadruped with fangs. So we simply made our way over to Italia, or Italy, as they call it in my country. And it was quite a simple invasion. They were prepared. They were prepared for muskets, guns, humans, swords. They were not prepared for nature's greatest living predator, or his 300 tigers.
Now, Commander, how is it you managed to broker the contract between the tigers to get them to Italy in the first place?
Well, it's a funny story. You see, when we create our fine milk products, we have a lot of off-product, and one of those is vast quantities of raw, bloody flesh. So, taking on tigers, it turns out, it's actually something we still do in the company. It deals with one of our longest outstanding problems, the meat room. So we simply offered them, would you like to have access to our vast quantities of often human, bloodied, raw flesh? And the tigers seemed quite amenable. They didn't say no. I can tell you that much. Unless you mean getting into Italy, in which case we used a boat.
But my lord, do not tigers love the water? How did you keep them on the boat?
The short answer is you have to deal with professionals, sir. You have to make sure you're working under a mutual respect. But obviously we did have a few, let's say, casual stragglers. So, on the way over, You see, we do have to keep making milk. That's the company. So if we had a couple young ones who thought they could get a few paddles in on the way, well, as I said, we do need supplies to make the milk. And we did start off with 400 tigers. 400 is not quite as nice a number as 300. I didn't tell them I had been planning around this eventuality. But that is how we kept them on board, was a mixture of professionality and fear.
How on earth did you get past Sicily and the crime rate therein?
Oh, have you ever heard the legend of the Batman? You simply bring rogue justice to a lawless town and they will welcome you, and that's what we were. The Tiger Men of Sicily. We ended their crime streak, and I was able to reap many more pieces of supply, many more pieces of ingredient for new flavors of MD milk product. It was simplicity.
But how did you round up the tigers after you had deployed them through Italy? Italy notoriously has a severe lack of tigers now.
I left that up to nature. Which is to say, I just left after we were done. I never told the tigers they were coming home, and I thought that the fine country of Italia, or Italy as we say back home, could use a change of its fauna. Unfortunately, it seems things did not go super well. I'm not sure what the details were. All I know is there was something involving an Italian battalion of goose armed with small, sharp implements.
An Italian battalion, you say?
An Italian battalion. Surely you've encountered such a thing in your travels, sir. You're a learned man of the world, after all.
Many adventures to the Mediterranean.
You know where I'm coming from. You're picking up what I'm putting down. A lot of small businesses opened in Italy after my time there, many of them serving various different cuts of particular feline meat, as they say over in Italia. I did have a couple of, I should say, I had a couple of my tigers in my employ return with me. It was the most loyal ones, and only the ones who could speak English. They are now active employees of MD Milk.
Now, I have but one more inquiry for you, sir. How is it you managed to escape the dreaded stiletto geese unscathed yourself?
Oh, that's quite simple. I sent about 298 of the tigers to go and greet them when we saw them on the horizon, and then I fled very quickly in the boat that we came via. The tigers were fine with it. They didn't seem to understand anything I was saying. So the English-speaking ones, they understood what was up. They came with me, and I told them, "You passed the test. Welcome to my company."
We are finished.
Oh, that's
It's becoming something.
All right. Who is next?
All right. It's Byron and Tom, so wrong mouse. Okay. It is Byron. You're going first.
All right.
Lord Archibald, could you please regale us of the story of how you laid the ghost of Anne Boleyn?
I believe we had that prompt in the last game.
Did we? All right, then hang on. Let's just move to a different one then. All right. Could you please regale us of the story of why a man in Dublin has a contract stating that he owns your right leg?
We've also done that one in the last game.
Did we? Oh, damn it. All right. Your unusual method of espionage in the recent invasion of Poland.
Ah. Well, as we all know, subterfuge is one of my personal favorites to do throughout the greater continent of Europe. Now, when I'd left England and completely avoided France, I made my way to the sleepy little country of Poland. And most of the people there were, of course, under the shadows of the steppes of Russia, and they wanted to be out from underneath that boot heel. So what I suggested to them is we started an aggressive leaflet campaign banning all Russian shoes from their areas. And naturally, that got the word back to the Russian Tsars, which meant they countered with an aggressive boot campaign into Poland. Now, while this was going on, I met with the Contessa in Russia, and we'd set up a dialogue between the two of us. thereby keeping channels open between both sides. And I kept her open quite often as well, gentlemen.
Now,
Lord Admiral.
Lord Admiral. Oh,
Lord
okay,
Admiral.
go ahead.
Isn't it
Yes.
known that the Contessa you mentioned has been in a coma for several years?
Well, that's why she's the Comatessa.
Fuck.
The Comatessa! Good lord, sir!
I woke her with but a kiss and consent. I woke her with a kiss and consent. I will say that. But she was the Comatessa beforehand.
Salacious! Oh, I love it.
That's the life of a military man. It's all subterfuge, espionage, and love making.
Now, Lord Admiral Archibald Busybody,
Yes, Vice Admiral.
you did get rid of all of the shoes and footwear, the boots more specifically, of the Russian invading army.
Yes.
How then did you stop them from switching to their stealth footwear, the sneakers?
Well, I gave them an aggressive tack campaign to be dealt with. And as we all know, the soles of those sneakers, as you put it, are quite thin, thus trying to maintain silence. But unfortunately for them, the tacks were both 6 inches in length, and when they stepped upon the tacks, they immediately impaled their feet to the ground, thus sticking them on the ground, and thus preventing them from invading the sleepy, sleepy country of Poland.
Just a little country.
Just a tiny little country of Poland.
Just a little thing.
Tiny little bite-sized place. You can put it in your pocket.
It's bite-sized. It's smaller than Liechtenstein, for God's sakes.
Now,
anyone else? As my story ended early.
No, we're still laughing at Comatessa. Now,
God, that was so fast.
That was so good.
But
how, gentlemen, I want more inquiries.
But hold on, then, you bump. Now, how did you?
Language, sir.
How by which did you actually secure the legal paperwork to offer someone your leg, as organ trading in that country is highly illegal?
That's not a story I was recounting, sir. This was espionage in Poland.
Oh, I lost track of.
You laughed yourself so hard you forgot the prompt, sir. How salacious of you! I had a perfectly good prompt, and I told them.
He's having a detergent-addled senior moment. It's quite all right.
I have a question I feel you are evading, sir. It's one of the most important questions that has not been asked. How did you account for the great Poles of Poland? They have prevented many a military action in that area. I myself was barred from them by those Poles.
By this point, my good sir, the Poles were unfortunately load-bearing, as we know that Poland is several meters above sea level. That is how they've maintained the peace as they have. Poland is, of course, higher up in elevation because of the Poles. They're resting upon the Poles, you see.
Well, then how were you able to reach them for conquest purposes if they were that much higher than you?
No, of course I had my flight of carrier flamingos carry me up there, and that's how I brokered the peace.
But then how did you manage to do that without attracting their natural enemy to take advantage of the situation? Stiltstopia! Simply next door!
Stiltstopia, my friend, had already been annexed by Austria. At that point.
Oh, yes. Well,
You know how power hungry those Austrians are, with their giant muscles and their guns.
Lord Admiral Archibald Busybody.
Yes.
How is it, though, that you've managed to do any kind of military action, defensive or otherwise, in the small, sleepy town inside of Poland, though known for very specific and destructive parties known as Chernobyl?
We are actually at
Okay.
That's Ukraine, sir. That's an entirely different province.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You're
right.
All right.
I got Poland and Ukraine mixed up.
Tom still.
Oh, we've got Tom still. Fuck. All right.
Comatessa.
Let's home a dollar.
Right.
It was a good comeback, and it was so fast.
We actually have a donation from Tipsiller. He has donated $5, so therefore this is his prompt, and it is specifically for Mr. Scrooge. Could you please explain how you trained Time Tiger to bait the High Maidens of Mars?
Humbug indeed. You must understand, tigers are a feral, foul lot that expect nothing but the best and give you the worst, so you have to train them, you have to beat them, you have to turn them into something more malleable. And then, of course, Time Tiger is the worst of the bunch. He thinks he's a demigod, all because he's seen the creation of man, the fall of the Roman Empire. Such an infernal, stopperable sod that he is. So the only way to do that is to hold his family hostage.
My God.
For he does have kin, though they are technically himself from different time periods. But yea, if you get him as a cub and you put him in a cage with a chronolock stasis, you can make him do anything to your will. And of course, at the time, I was having a mild trade dispute with, the Martian government. Oh no, you can't use our children as slave labor. Ooh, it's against the rights. Ooh, such a terrible whiny lot. So, of course, I thought the best way to ensure that our relationship continued was if there was some kind of a horrible natural disaster that would distract them from the conditions of my workshops. So, of course, I sent in Time Tiger. Mike, you look like you wanted to object, but I went over you. Are you all right?
I'm fine. I had a question, but how did you get to Mars? It's awfully far away. And you are banned from international travel.
I am banned from all international travel, but I am not banned from interdimensional travel. For upon my travels I met one Mr. Doomgi, who is a ex-soldier of sorts who may not travel to lesser-known hellish dimensions, and via his back door I was able to go directly to Mars and bypass the government entirely.
I know all about the operations of Mr. Doomgi, but you're trying to actually tell me you penetrated Mars without using any of the known thrusting sabotorial forces of mercenaries available in the great green cloud of Uranus? You really expect me to believe that Uranus was not involved in this insurrection?
Yes. You
well played,
my words, sirs.
But Scrooge is known from staying away from Uranus. He's a particular aversion to it.
I had a good question.
Oh yes, ever since the backdoor incident, I stay clear of Uranus.
But Uranus's backdoor is one of the most famously effective ones. This is different kind of dilly-dally.
But Mr.
From
Scrooge...
a military standpoint, you are indeed correct. But from a business standpoint, there are other ways to get around.
Mr.
Now,
Scrooge, I do have one question. How did you beat Musk of Elon? To Mars.
The Musk of Elon. Well, he was the first obstacle in my way of building my workshops. You see, he'd already settled there. He'd shown up and claimed Mars to be his own, set up a dominion, claimed himself God King Emperor of Mars, the lunatic that he was. Little did he realize the locals were unhappy with his situation. For he showed up on someone's lawn, planted a flag in an armchair, and said, "I am king now." Of course, the locals didn't like that. So when I arrived a week later, I saw a dominable workforce that already had a common enemy. So all I had to do was get them to sign a lifetime-long contract, and I ensured them that I would remove the man in question. This is, of course, why I brought Time Tiger on board, for I knew if I left him alive and let him survive that incident, he would return to his strongest abilities to seek vengeance. But if I attacked him with a tiger who would attack him simultaneously through every point of his life and time, there's no coming back from that. So with Elon Musk dead at my feet, the workforce of an entire planet at my disposal, I did the only sane thing left. I built workshops. I called them elves at first, and I had them start to build toys over and over again. And then I came up with a brilliant marketing campaign. One day a year I gave toys to every child across the board, but they would only last 1 week. So after the week, the subscription costs start creeping in, and the parents will pay it to shut up their children. That is both how I invaded Mars with Time Tiger and invented Christmas.
All right. So, you're actually at time.
That has never happened.
Alright, you know what? I'm actually just gonna go by player as opposed to,
Our persona?
a persona, just because of the fact that I need to do this very quickly. I'm setting up a poll of who has won this round, and we're gonna go for a minute. Damn it!
What?
Why? Okay, can somebody please set a poll because of the fact that I tried very hard to do it and it didn't work on my end.
Yes. This reminds me of the great bushfire of 3 weeks ago, where I lost 3 members of my floating harem to the change in pressure and the upper atmosphere. They say they're still perpetuating an orgy from the sky to this day.
Never mind. Anyway, just vote on who you thought won. Please just write it in the chat. I'll see it.
You know what that atmospheric change was from? I had some informants let me know. That's actually what Time Tiger was doing to that Elon Musk. He was feeding him straight up Uranus's great gripping maw. They needed a little bit more fuel for the planet. So, using a time machine, they actually took that man's head and rammed it firmly up his anus, the neighboring moon.
The bisected moons of his anus.
Yes, his anus and your anus, and well, it's a rumor, but it is told somewhere in the dark side of Uranus lies their anus.
I'm confused with that anus.
We have 1 vote for Byron. We have 1 vote for Chief.
That anus is a theme park, sir.
That ass.
That ass.
Oh, that ass is a fine bar I've been to before.
I'm a fan of the booby bumper cars, personally.
Oh, they go beep beep.
Beep beep honk honk.
I do have to point out, one of the ones in the chat I can see is, wow, Santa really did conquer the Martians.
We have 1 for Tom. Please just write it in the chat, Kara. Unfortunately, I can't get the poll working.
The poll system has also been lost to the agents of Uranus.
Apparently, yes.
We're working on...
And the polls.
They're such a small, sleepy, tiny little country that they couldn't possibly engage in any kind of shenaniganery or voting.
We attempted to reach
since
deep
the
within
horse
the
and
heart of Uranus to retrieve the voting system, but it's simply too tight.
We have a 2nd vote for Chief.
Oh.
Our lady can't work the poll. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sam does many, many amazing things,
Yeah.
guys. You have no idea how hard she works. This just because she can't do this one thing is nothing. Sam, you make this show happen.
I appreciate it.
I thought we had at least 1 mod in the
We do.
in the chat.
Unfortunately, I think it's actually just D20 Live itself because we're not made affiliate yet.
Oh, okay.
She can't work the poll. She should take dancing lessons. I'm not the dancer in my family, unfortunately.
I am.
Yeah, there we go.
As someone who's worked many a poll, it's not so much about dancing ability as it is about grip strength.
They used to call me the thighs that just wouldn't quit. They say I could drag a battleship into a harbor with my thighs.
I think we're gonna call it there, and we're just gonna say that Chief won on that one because.
Oh,
Hey!
Yeah.
Well done, Straw.
Good job.
Thank you, Shabbat.
Good job, good job.
How much?
I didn't know you could
All
win this
right.
game.
We have a new round then? Are we all ready and prepared?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'd straighten up a bit. All right.
Freshly squeezed.
All right. The start of this round shall be the wonderful and the eternal, I'm getting his persona name up, Commander Aloysius Huxley Pippin.
Ah! Once again.
Yes.
Alright, Commander, could you please tell us the story of... Hang on 1 second.
Hang on 1 second. It's one of my greatest workers.
No, hang on. I'm actually picking one. Hang on just 1 second. Oh, right. How you force the surrender of the Turkish armies of Constantinople with a chicken.
Oh, that brings me back to the good old days of my youth, well spent. And that beautiful chicken. Whatever happened to that chicken? God damn the Turkish army. Where was I? Yes. You saying I conquered the Turkish army with the use of my friend Clucksworth the chicken. Well, me and old Clucky, we used to go to town. There was a man in a neighboring city with a neighboring business, a competitor, if you will, named the Colonel, and the Colonel was trying to make use of that chicken to challenge my own dominating milk empire. We were simply engaging in a little bit of corporate tete-a-tete, wherein I took his only chicken, and I wooed that chicken. Me and Cluxley, we were very tight. And it turns out that the Colonel was he was desperate, so he reached out to the forces of the Turkish army. And as a little bit of a preventative measure, I decided to approach and conquer them before they could make their way over to my own home country and make trouble for my business and my workers. So I approached Turkland via my usual methods, a boat, and we arrived. And what they did not expect was for me to have a chicken in my employ. Because if there's one thing that the Turkish people, and the Turkish army especially, cannot face in battle, it is one passionate chicken. So we said,
if I may, Commander Huxley, how is it that you could say that these people of Turkey do not like or are afraid of birds when their very own king is itself a turkey?
Well, that is part of the art of war, as written by one of my finer and more literate mothers. The greatest enemy that any great power could face is its own fear. And what is a king? What is a bird king more afraid of than one passionate bird soldier? So when he saw,
Now, Commander, how is it you were able to overcome your own fear, or as it is, poultry traumatic stress disorder?
Who told you about my PTSD?
It's common knowledge, Sra.
Damnable information networks. It's true. I am a man with his own weaknesses, as are we all, being humans and whatnot, which I certainly am. Definitely. It was the boat ride. Cluxley could tell. As I tossed and turned in my 2 hours of slumber I have each night in my armchair, he said to me, Why do you call out the words of the bird? Why do you call out the genuses and the flavors and the names and the breadings? And I told him it's because of what happened, not to my daddy, but to my Uncle Daddy, the one from Finland. I don't like to recount what the tale, but that me and Cluxley, we had a heart-to-heart that can never be shared to anyone. Only God and Osiris will know what we discussed on that boat. And damn if I won't say that by the time we arrived, I not only knew myself, but I knew the bird, and I was able to take the bird king of Turkey and tell him, Mr. Turkland, look in a mirror, and you'll see fear. And when he looked in the mirror, and he looked for fear, that's when Cluxley came in through his window, took the back of his skull, and smashed it against that mirror until it was nothing but a fine spotted dick pudding that we supped upon that evening with a freshly squeezed carton of my own MD milk product. Available now.
But how were you able to assassinate him when he had his honor guard of quite fine leaping lords?
Nothing will get a leaping lord more persuaded to your side than a simple affection and wooing of their springly thighs. We approached humbly, and I told Cluxley, stay back, there's going to be no blood spilled, not until we get to that king. And I offered my hands openly, no weapons, and I said, good leaping lords, you may do with me what you will, but I simply wish to appreciate those vehicular devices attached to yonder hips, those propelling appendages that give you your name. And one of them stepped forward, Lord Springley, and said, "Fine, prove to me what you can do." So I bit deep, and that was dinner.
Actually, at time.
All right.
All right. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
A simple, humble tale. Come on.
All right. We're rolling. Number 4, and Evangelist is gone. 2, 3, 4. Chief, you're up.
Aha!
All right, Vice Admiral, could you please tell us the story of your discovery of the efficacy of swallowing frogs as a cure for leprosy?
But of course. So as you all know, once upon our history, there was a great outbreak of leprosy just upon the eastern borders of France. Which is why I'm wearing this getup you see here today. It is in memory of those lost in this encounter. We were searching at originality for donuts. As we all know, donuts are mined out of the ground. Many believe that they are baked at a bakery, and that is nonsense. They are a finite resource, non-renewable, as many have come to know. And upon our discovery of a great vein of donuts, a strong, turgid vein beneath the earth, we had discovered as well a great pocket of gaseous leprosy, which tore through our French mining company without mercy.
But Vice Admiral,
yes,
is it not true that subterranean leprosy first removes organs from the inside before dealing with the extremities?
Oh, yes, of course. Which is why we didn't know at first that we had been infected with this internal subterranean strain of leprosy. If it were not for Timothy Tamilton I, who had indeed attempted to eat one of the donuts that he had found, only to find it rattle through him like an empty can and fall out his bottom. So that gave us the clue, you see, that he had been struck ill. Now, as many people like to think that the French peoples do indeed enjoy some frog-head legs from time to time, but not the whole frogs, no. Which is, of course, a myth. The eating frogs is actually a German thing. As it were.
Humbug, I say. Vice Admiral, I believe you are full of poppycock and foul words. We all know the French ate the frogs to extinction 200 years ago.
How dare you speak of my poppycock enemas? But yes, the frogs had been rendered extinct several centuries prior, which is why they were brought back in to circulation only just near that time through Germany's use of none other than Time Tiger. So,
that salacious pile of secrets.
Indeed, the very same.
But how did you immunize the frogs against modern-day infections?
I'm so glad you asked. Thankfully, I was not in charge of such things. I brought up that many diseases had come into circulation since the frog's extinction 200 years ago hence. So how were they to survive? The German scientists, which had been breeding the frogs in secret subterranean tunnels up to this point, had asked for my expertise in dealing with, small microorganisms, etc., of which, I am an expert. So I gave them, and lent to them some of my expertise in immunizing these frogs. Now, some of the French whom we had mining these donuts from their underground things were not exactly sure how they were going to eat their frog-head legs because they had begun to lose not only their internal organs but also their fingers and their teeth. Unable to replace them with dark chocolate pudding teeth from the pygmies of Chin, we decided instead to put whole frogs raw inside of a cannon and then light the back of it using farts from Uranus, launching them entirely and frying them through the air into the mouths of Timothy Templeton the First. Which cured him instantly.
As a business associate of the Templeton family, post the first, obviously, for reason.
Absolutely.
I believe you are leaving out a very key detail, perhaps to make yourself look a little bit better in light of this tale.
Yeah.
It is my understanding that those uranial farts, when they deep fry the frog, fills them with a very potent form of granular gluten. And as we all know, a lot of the folks in that area have got various different sensitivities internally. So how did you deal with all of that, that kind of gut reaction?
We are actually at time.
Asbestos.
Good job. Good job.
I gotta take this fucking thing off. Oh, fuck me.
You don't want to keep wearing the sandpaper rope?
Help. I'm big.
It itches, it scratches, and it really doesn't dances.
Oh yeah, I asked a question like right after he took his headset off.
Yeah.
That's right.
What was that?
I was like, are you tired of the sandpaper rope?
I am tired of this fucking terrible bathrobe that just is like a furnace in this hot as balls apartment in the middle of winter, and I don't get it. All right. We got, let's see here. We've had 2 people go. We have 3 people left. So let's get a bit of roll. Number 2, which I believe that is... Because I'm 1, because I haven't gone.
It's I.
It's Byron, yeah. Okay, good. I was right in my head.
Lord Archibald, could you please tell us of the time that your fur coat attacked you on the road to Cologne?
Finally a story about Germany and not about France. Well, yes, I was heading there to go listen to some of the finest orchestrations from Wagner. But of course, I was heading there close to the winter. And I'd actually managed to skin Time Tiger, or a version of him, and turn it into quite the coat. Not only keeping me warm, but keeping me all-dimensional, which means every dimension would have one of me at the same time.
Polydimensional. Very good, very good.
Yes.
Polydimensional, even.
Yes, correct. Polydimensional, even better. Now, I was going in an open-air carriage because I'm not afraid of the snow, much like the French. So I was enjoying the brisk German air as I was heading out. And of course, my arm started to leap like this, and it struck me across the face. And I grabbed my hand and realized that a paw was starting to form from the fur pelt. It seems the Time Tiger was trying to regenerate himself. But I managed to placate the tiger by use of copious amounts of brandy. I kept trying...
Good sir, now I'm a simple milk purveyor with a small degree in dimensional astrophysics. But surely you knew to remove the nervous system of a time tiger before fashioning his skin into a coat.
You see, that would be true had he not had an encounter with Dr. Manhattan and got his nervous system back.
Damn and Satan, Dr. Manhattan!
Yes, curse that blue naked fellow.
Damn his penis!
Yes.
Damn him.
Damn him and his hellacious blue cock.
Yes, that actually rebuilt the city of Venice after you were swinging your way through.
It's not getting that a man can't get a good public works project in.
Bloody try hard!
So yes, as I saw Time Tiger managing to regenerate itself, I placated the nervous system and Time Tiger itself with copious amounts of brandy while I was drinking the finest German stout.
But how did you find alcohol in the wilderness on your journey?
Ah, well, you see, many of the trees produce what's called sap, and I took some time to procure the sap, and instead of boiling it away and turning it into a syrup, I fermented it and turned it into a form of brandy. I added a little bit of hops, a little bit of yeast, and it turned into quite the potent brandy. And that's how I placated the tiger.
But my lord, you mean to tell me you were doing all of this while traveling? At the same time, you harvested all the sap, you refined it, you made a still?
Well, yes, being polydimensional, I could literally be in several places at once. Thanks to the coat.
But how did you... This is a stupid question. But how
There are
did
no
you...
stupid questions, my lord.
Oh, I bet you there's a couple in my head. But how did you repel the locals who are currently under prohibition?
Well, yes, the Kaiser did manage to put them under a prohibitive state. They were only able to drink Kinder beer at that point, which is beer meant mostly for children. But mostly. However, the casks of ale that I had with me, I traded to them so that way they did not accost me on the trail, leading me into Germany proper. Are there any further inquiries to my tale?
I mean, simply speaking, sir.
Yes.
Simply speaking, I have to know, how were you able to woo the nervous system of a semi-regenerated time tiger using a simple hops like that, when we all know that he is a man of very refined taste, requiring some very refined and very rare liqueurs? You can't simply buy off a time tiger with something like that. You got to get some of that uranial blood-tinged absinthe. You know, you burn it on a spoon.
Now, that would certainly be true. However, this time tiger was not in his, emo phase, as it were. So he had not yet supped into the darker liqueurs. So I introduced him to brandy, which means he will now further experiment with darker liqueurs like absinthe and further ones like stouts and beers and ales.
Working with a pre-emo time tiger's playing with fire and inviting hubris, sir.
Well, hubris and subterfuge are my middle names, after all.
Humbug, I say. Humbug indeed. You mean to tell me you had perpetually imprisoned Time Tiger, and he did not travel back in time to beat the ever-loving shit out of you?
Well, he certainly tried. However, I bested him in a 2 out of 3 falls match, thus defeating him in an arm wrestling match, thus allowing me to skin him once again. He approached me, and I was able, as the supposed victim, to procure the challenge for our combat.
And we are at time.
Well, that is time.
Yep.
Everybody knows when a time tiger's gonna come to beat the shit out of you. You just go to the washroom at the Big Bang. It's a simple way to do it.
All right. Now it's between me and Tom.
Yep.
Tom, it's your go.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge, could you please tell us for the story of how you recognized a sheep in the long-lost second son of the Earl of Bath?
What?
Can you say that again for me, please?
Right, how you recognized a sheep as the long-lost second son of the Earl of Bath?
That one is a very fun financial endeavor. I was contracted by the Earl of Bath to install a washing machine, and I thought it was a reasonable endeavor. He would pay me $60 for it and a free bed, and a free bed is a worthwhile market on a good day. So I arrive with the washing machine and I begin the installation when I hear the cries of a distressed woman in the next room. From there I wander over and I see it's a woman who's crying, screaming out to the world that she had lost her son on a trip to a petting zoo. Of course, this is a sad endeavor, but it was none of my business. But as I was leaving, she clutched my arm. Please, please, I will do anything. That got my attention. For I knew if I rescued this lost son, the lord in question would owe me a great debt. And that means many more washing machine installs for this boy, I tell you what. So, So onwards I went, and I devoured the petting zoo. I scoured the goats. I scullied the ducks. I searched, and I could not find anything that could resemble a child. So I thought to myself, if I were a child and I was lost, where would I go? So I immediately wandered to the local chocolate factory, for that is where children go, and that is where children will wander to, lured by the sense of sweet things and jolliness. Turns out it was run by one W. Wonka, an old rival of mine. Curse his name and curse his tomfoolery. But I knew if anyone had kidnapped a child, it was definitely Willie. He does that a lot. Yes.
Master Scrooge, how did you get into the chocolate factory when it is notoriously guarded by snipers?
Oh yes. William does not take security lightly. For you see, during my advantageous search of the petting zoo, I had acquired a layer of filth upon me and my coat. With every turnover, another layer. So by the end of searching through the zoo, I was covered in a thin layer of grime, dirt, and mold, which acted as an impromptu ghillie suit as I crept forward ever closer to the chocolate factory. Upon breaking ground, I immediately found an air duct and began Bruce Willising myself through the system. Using my nose, I thought, if a child is here, I must find the brightest room, the shiniest of objects, and the sweetest of candy.
Sir, you say you crept through the vents, wearing a coat of filth. When everyone knows that a chocolatier has a tongue, has a taste for filth, how did the Wonka man not simply seek you out using his nose to lick you clean himself out of raw, primal hunger?
Yes, a good point indeed. But you didn't let me finish the story, for that was my plan. For I knew the factory was vast and beyond anything I could explore in the short time. But I knew if Wonka came to me, I could capture him and have him lead me to the child. So I set up a trap. I set up a trap in the waiting room, the one room where Wonka would never go, for he waits for no man, no thing, nor endeavor. So while I waited in the waiting room, I set up a trap. For in my pocket I had the one thing that Willy Wonka despises more than anything. A stapler. For you see, a stapler is the opposite of candy. It is only used in business, it is only used by adults, and it is only used by people who are the most miserable of people. So miserable, in fact, that it is almost a kryptonite to Willy Wonka's merriment, as it were. So, when he bursts through the door, frothing at the mouth and screaming insanities, I merely had to lure him into the room further. We stared at each other, each of us taking a step, mirroring each other, looking, each one waiting for the other to make the first move. Wonka reached for his cane, but I was faster, and I chucked the stapler at his head, rendering him unconscious, not from the impact, but from the effects that a stapler has on his molecular biology. He was repulsed by it.
Sir, our staple is not traceable. How were you able to get unmarked staples into a chocolate factory of all places?
You tarnish my honor, sir. If I am to attack a man, he knows it's mine. There was my stapler, and all staples were custom engraved of property of Ebenezer Scrooge on each individual one.
The hubris,
so there
sir.
I was, in the Wonka factory, with him as my hostage.
Tom, you're at time.
$1! $1!
It's just Chris and Tom yelling at each other now.
All right.
It's my go now, right?
This is amazing.
It is your go. I found one, and I don't know if I've actually read this one or not before, so you guys may have to tell me if I have. Governor, please tell us of the incident in which you accidentally impregnated the Pope.
No, you haven't.
I refuse to believe it was an accident.
I do believe that one is new.
And congratulations.
I gotta do this in Nauticus's voice. There's no other way to do it, but this is gonna work. Well, if you must know, I was on a hellacious coxmanship trip all the way through Venice after my horrible experience bashing my cock against every building I could find. And in an effort to find myself redeemed in the eyes of the good Lord, I went to the only place that has the holiest of architecture, Rome. And as I was making my way in Rome, I prostrated myself as any good pilgrim would, shedding myself of my finery and going around naked completely as a wretch. But as we all know, I have a wonderful, effeminate, and delicate body. The priests, who were accustomed to long flowing robes that did not in any way show off their features to anyone, were overwhelmed by the dimensions that they saw, and I proceeded to induce several new forms of prayer, as I know they must have been praying because they kept saying, "Oh God, oh God, oh Jesus, my spirit is leaving me. Oh God, oh God, oh Jesus." Suffice it to say, morning prayers went from Amen to Tame, but we move on accordingly. And since no one is interrupting me, I'm going to keep fucking going.
Just a small question.
It was
you say
not
that
small,
you were,
but go on.
You say that you were able to change and woo over the belief system of that entire. You did so without even uttering once the sacred word of that area, pizza. Where was your pizza involved in this? We all know you had to have used a pizza to get that kind of thought process going.
I had it smuggled in via trebuchet. You see, when trebuchets is not very popular in Rome at the time, so I had to have one locally sourced from Napoleon. And upon having it stored judiciously in the city, I had a small contingent of funds locally, oh my God, what is the word for laundered, that's the word. Laundered and converted into a form of currency accepted by Italians, but not recognized in the open market, pizza ingredients. And as we all know, I never dared dabble in pineapple because it is not actually a topping. But anyway, as those currencies were then balanced in to make pizzas, they were hurled over the wall and deployed strategically to sustain people mid-prayer session.
What, my lord? Is pineapple pizza not the sponsored pizza of the Pope? How could you say such a blasphemous thing?
That was only conducted during the time when we had 3 popes, one in the Vatican, one in France, and one who was Billy Bob II, Pope of Southwestern Ontario, which is which is only officially recognized because he technically stole the blood of another pope and consecrated the ground with it as part of Vatican territory. But I digress. Either way, as each subsequent level of the clergy were set to investigate my unique form of prayer, they began to not report back in, claiming that they were very satisfied. Yes.
Now, my lord, did not the Council of Nicaea proclaim that nudity in the auspices of Rome should result in a thrashing? How did you keep your body from being assailed by whips?
I didn't. I just changed the whips.
Troublemaker!
There are many kind of whips. Whips for pleasure and whips for pain. I got both. And I assure you, I was repentant. But as I proceeded up through, and once I tell you, when that Council of Nicaea convened specifically to whip me, they were very impressed by both my ability to dodge and receive those blows. So much so that when they began to intake my own training regimen, they too found God. At least they said they did at the time.
Good sir. If this commotion was occurring, was the Pope not escorted into the vaults beneath the Vatican for his own safety?
Yes, he was. He was there for 3 weeks, but he ran out of food, so had to come up for it. And that's when I got him with the pizza. When in that carb-starved state, I was able to be there butt naked and hid my Johnson within the pizza, which led to a very lovely sausage surprise, I must say.
Absolutely filleting, sir.
I think so. And that is how, of course,
We have to go through the biology, but I believe that timer is about to go out right now, so I do not have to discuss mpreg.
About 5 seconds.
Shit.
There's always time for mpreg, sir.
We're good.
I was like 2 second. Mike is just gonna go penis for 5.
Alrighty then. So please type in the chat who you thought won that round.
I like that I'm 2 for 2 on being present for Mike saying mpreg.
Yes, my condolences.
So is Chief.
It keeps coming up with me, and I don't know why.
Smith is like, I'm sorry?
He didn't say it under his breath.
I think it's a.
If I had a nickel for
We
the
have-
amount of times in December Mike's brought up mpreg, I'd have 2
3
nickels.
votes for Mike.
But it's weird that it happened twice.
Didn't think I'd have 2. Thought I'd have 0. One of them had to do with Arthurian legend, in fact.
1 for Vangelis.
The sad part is, I really wanted to finish that Wonka story because I was like, oh, I gotta end it with a knife fight and a warlock. I'm like, okay.
Make him Warlock Willy Wonka?
Warlock
Yeah.
Willy Wonka.
It's opening a private browser to look up mpreg pope.
Ooh,
Don't.
bold of you.
Oh, that's more of a. If you don't get a Chuck Tingle recommendation, you're in trouble.
Oh, no, Chuck Tingle's in trouble if I don't get it.
The 3rd Pope really sold it, apparently.
I think Mike is pretty well
I
run
think-
away with
I
this
think
one.
Mike has won this
Oh,
one.
good.
Yeah.
I won one.
Yeah.
I was feeling really
First-
tired going into it too, and I was like, "How'd you impregnate the Pope?" Well, someone's clocked in.
I searched mpreg pope, and all I'll say is the first result's a Reddit thread titled "Tumblr never ceases to amaze me."
Technically speaking, a Pope did get pregnant, and that was Pope Joan. But she was actually a woman, so it's not technically unpreg. Although everyone thought she was a man at the time.
Yeah. You know, the worst part is I have a skit written for the 3 popes, except it's a history lesson and it's just all wrestling. So the line, and Pope Benedict comes out of nowhere with the chair! Just to explain how fucking weird that section of time was, because that Mike was completely accurate. There was a moment when there were 3 popes fighting each other to be the supreme pope.
Alright, you want to roll to see who goes next?
Okay. Oh, how's everyone feeling before we go any further, though?
We're doing
I'm
a 3rd
good.
round. This is great.
So stupid. I love it.
Good. I'm glad everyone's feeling well. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
How is the chat doing?
The chat is enjoying the Pope fight.
All right. All right, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are rolling. Number 4, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Evangelist, did you go first last time?
He did.
You
I
did. All right,
did.
I'm gonna re-roll because you went 1st last time. 2. Byron, you're going first.
All right, I'm up.
Alright, Lord Archibald, could you please regale us of the story of how you caused a German serving maid to be crowned Emperor of India?
I love it. I love it when I get to play. I love it when I get to play with people. It's like chess pieces on a really large board. Now, I was having a rather salacious affair with a few chambermaids in Germany, as is my wont on my travels, and I saw one that had beautiful sapphire blue eyes. And I thought, you should not be a mere chambermaid. But of course, because she wasn't a cousin to any of the rulers here in Europe, she should be ruling somewhere else. Now, I know that Britain, unfortunately, had colonies in India at the time, which was where we were getting our tea and our spices. So I, along the Silk Road, brought this young woman with me, and once we arrived in India, the people there were completely astonished by her beauty, as was I. They immediately threw away democratic votes. They immediately annexed away Queen Victoria at this point, which was a little hurtful to me considering where I'm from. But immediately after she was left, They placed her on the caliph's throne, and she was put in place to rule the colony of India. Do I have any questions?
But how did you get around the intense bureaucracy of India in order to make sure that she was put in place? While the people voted for her, surely the paperwork must have been against you.
Yes, I brought out the bureaucratic Bengal tigers, and they cut through the red tape with their fangs and their claws. That's how we were able to get through the bureaucracy and install her on the throne in India.
You can't tell me you simply brought out the Bengal tigers, especially the bureaucratic one. They have processes, sir. What did you pay them with? You can't hide that kind of information.
But I brought the finest Macedonian silver with me to pay them.
Macedonian silver for the tigers? What about the mastodons? They hate them.
Well, the mastodons were dealing with the elephants from Hannibal at the time in the Great Elephant Civil War.
God damn Hannibal!
Yes. So I provided arms and equipment to the mastodons in their fight against the Hannibal's elephants, as a means of gaining passage as well. That's how I managed to mine not only the Macedonian silver from them, but also gaining passage and safe passages through Macedonia, Anatolia, and straight through to India.
But how did you keep your lady companion alive to ascend the throne of the Caliph when it's known that his head's mistress is both a prolific assassin, poisoner, and dangerous lesbian?
Well, on our journey over, I would slip in small amounts of curare into her food, thus gaining her an immunity to poisons as we made our way there. Because as we all know, poison is the woman's means of dealing with assassination. Much like I have a resistance to iocane powder myself, I ingested small amounts so that way I could build up a tolerance to it, as I did with her and curare.
Humbug, good sir. Humbug, I say. Is it true the crown of India is both made of nothing but uranium and kills every king within the first year? But yet you say she reigned for 3? That is impossible, sir.
Well, you see, as she also had sapphire eyes, she managed, and this is by sheer luck of genetics, a skull made of lead, thus protecting her brain and keeping her from gaining brain cancer from the uranium crown of India.
I'm looking at Connell's face at the skull made of lead comment, and he's dying.
You're telling me with a skull made of lead, she never once united that with the crown of uranium to deliver a nation-cracking headbutt? I never once heard of it happening, even though my intelligence forces told me it was on the plate.
So, I'm just going to remind you of the schism between Pakistan and India. That's when it happened. She fell off her throne, and that's how Pakistan and India separated.
Son, I knew it.
Okay, hang on, I got a question. Just give me a second to get my brain together.
Take your time, gentlemen.
Oh my god. All right.
Are you okay, Mike? You look actually broken.
I'm a little bit. I had to say Mpreg twice in a month, and there's a vertical limit on how many times I can say it. Now
that's okay. I said Comatessa in my first game, so.
But is it not true that in the second year, India suffered a solar eclipse, which they perceived as a portent against your new regime?
We are actually at time.
We're actually at time?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I cannot regale with how she managed to abscond with the moon and thus removed the eclipse. But that is a tale for another time.
What a funny winter that was.
Indeed it was. That's why I went to the warmer climes.
All right, it's time to roll for another person. 2. That makes it Tom's. Go. Sam, do you got a prompt?
1 second.
How's the survey going, by the way? Also, you should fill out the D20 Live survey if
Yes,
you're watching us
please
today.
fill out the D20 Indeed.
To tell us how to improve.
Fill out the survey.
Tells us how to grow and what things you want to see more of. Incidentally, you should definitely go see and say you want more Red Dwarf. That's my opinion.
Don't take the survey.
All citizens must take the survey.
It is mandatory.
Yeah.
The survey is mandatory.
All right. Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge, please tell us why you are forbidden from wearing the color yellow on the streets of Napoli.
Very well. I shall skip the beginning of this tale, as I know I am being timed, so I shall start at the interesting bits. I was in a bathhouse with Augustus the Great, and we were discussing the finer points of how to break into the king's palace. Now, during this, of course, it's a bathhouse, we are both stripped nude, and discussing the plans using a map we made using the beads of sweat upon the wall. It was at this point the king himself marched in wearing nothing but a towel. Upon hearing our request, he looked at us and tried to sentence us both to death. It was at that point we realized we had only one option. We had to kill the king right then and there before anything else happened. But before we could strike, he struck a bargain with us. Yes.
But isn't it known that the king is immune to all forms of harm by virtue of the fact that he rubs his body down with the leftover sand shavings of diamonds?
Indeed, for he was glorious, and that is why he was in the bath. He had to polish the diamonds, boy. Gotta polish it up every day with the right kind of wax. But yes, we knew it was a futile attempt, but when it's execution or death or suicide by trying to kill the king, the noble approach is always the best one. So there you go. He reached his hand and he struck us a bargain. He went, I need you to rob me. But if I were to lose a bunch of heirlooms, I can claim it off as an insurance thing, and my kingdom is in a mild amount of debt. Then it can be recovered later through other means. So he gave us the blueprints of his palace. From there, Alexander and I hatched the plan to the best of our abilities. We would land in via ostrich parachute. Now, for those who don't know what an ostrich parachute is, yes, Michael.
I was going to say, actually, to an earlier point, but are not the blueprints to the palace securely guarded by 3 angry Boy Scouts with Swiss Army knives?
Yes, for it is upon their backs. They must go back to each other, and upon their backs is the tattooed blueprints of the palace. The king had thought of this, and he had ordered the Boy Scouts to be at the said bathhouse for us to accidentally see when we were there and commit to memory. No, you are very right. No, at this point,
small question, small inquiry. Is that with a licentious wax rubber like that king? Was there not already rumblings in that? I know for a fact that members of his court were already expecting some kind of tax evasive plot like this. And were they not on alert themselves privately?
Oh, they were. For security, you had tripled in the palace when we were there, unbeknownst to us. For after the ostrich parachutes, we landed and realized we were surrounded by bureaucrats in every direction. Bureaucrats armed with SMGs, which of course made the night all the more pleasant.
If it is not correct,
please,
Scrooge, that being armed with SMGs, that actually stands for sand-mounted. Jeez.
Yes, indeed, sir. The sand-mounted gophers.
Yes, the sand-mounted gophers.
Than any gun.
Well, you see some geese, yes.
Every human has a small amount of sand in their body, and these gophers are trained to burrow and find it. I would rather be shot than deal with gophers. I, of course, did the only thing I knew what to do in this situation. I marched up to all of them and said, I think I saw someone drop a penny outside. Of course, the bureaucrats, being poorly paid, immediately abandoned their duties and ran off to try and find it. Of course, the lie being that I had already picked it up the evening. Which
villain!
I'm Ebenezer Scrooge. You think I'm gonna see a penny and leave it there? Fuck you. That's not how I roll.
Expertly done.
Yes.
Now, upon leaving, how did you manage to evade the minted moneylenders of Milan?
We see the moneylenders have their schemes and their tracks. But the trouble is, I still had that penny. For you see, the one thing that moneylenders cannot resist is an actual amount of money. For they lend it everywhere, so they have very little themselves. So all I had to do was creep up next to the door and roll the penny down the hall. The sound of the penny bouncing was like a siren's call to the lenders as they Kool-Aid Man threw the wall out into the hall, screeching after the penny. Is that time?
Yes, it's time, yes.
Okay, I gotta roll for who is
Yes,
next.
okay, yes.
So let's see here. So 1, 2, 3.
I'm sure someone out there's like, why didn't you question the ostrich parachutes? Everyone knows what an ostrich parachute is.
I was like, what the hell with these guys? Why did you not bounce on an ostrich parachute?
We were trying. You had a streak going. We didn't want to stop you, man.
Besides, none of us here fly coach.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep talking.
So, Chris, you are up.
Very good, sir. Very good.
All right. Commander, could you please regale us with the story of how you invented the national dish of Italy?
Oh, wow. The national dish of Italy. That was a little dalliance I did in the summer. I was very bored that summer. We'd been very successful with our milk products. So, whilst I was on my way back to pay some reparations to Italy for all of the tiger detritus I left behind, it occurred to me on my boat, my main form of travel across the Pacific Atlantic Ocean, that I should deliver something to the people of Italy. They'd already been taken advantage of using the pizza, and they needed something to shore up defenses against disc-based carbohydrate dinner pieces. So while I was on there, I was of course experimenting with new mixtures for product for the company, and it occurred to me that with just a few tweaks here and there, one could take an often liquid substance like your milks or creams and render them into various different gelatins, solids, and sponges. Something that might have a good mouthfeel for someone who's perhaps a little bit tired of the taste of tiger meat and a little bit wary of the cheesiness of a pizza.
Uh-huh.
It was, it was quite simple. I'm sorry, did you want to know what it was? I mean, you can get it at any restaurant nowadays. It's no secret.
But you have made no effort to name the actual food that you introduced as the national food of Italy. Nor have you named any national food from Italy apart from pizza.
Is there another national food apart from pizza and my own concoction? I think not.
It is.
Well, that concoction obviously is the MD Company's mouthfeel comely slurry, named after my grandmother. Long-lived Englishwoman, went by the name Comely Sug Miller. She was one of my inspirations. So it's in layman's terms, it's an aperitif with a little bit of a chewy mouthfeel that leaves a bit of a sticky dribble on your lip. It's using some of our finer milk products. It's got a white sheen to it with just a little bit of crystality, as one gets when using human milk products. We like to save that for the upper end things. But as a sorry, there's a question.
Mm-hmm. But how were you not arrested for food crimes?
That's very simple. When someone asks you the question, "What food crimes are you committing here, you criminal?" You simply change the question by shifting the paradigm. So once I took out my paradigm shifting gear, I simply set to work before we pulled up to dock. And by the time we got there, I'd tweaked the locks and creaked the clicks, and I'd put a little bit of spit on the tip of the candle wick. And once we got there, the paradigm was completely shifted. Not a question was asked. They in fact came up ready. The armed Italian guard, what was left of them, were waiting for us at the dock. And when I stepped off the boat, I said, "Sir, what paradigm are you about to inquire about?" And they stared at me with a minor mote of confusion and simply let me pass as they conversed among themselves in their native tongue.
If no one else has a question, I have several. But how did you manage to completely transpose an entire culinary dish from the landscape of Italy when it is notoriously reflected in Italian grandmothers' recipes, and they are known as the most dangerous women in all of Italy?
Well, if there's one thing you can use to deal with some of the most dangerous women in Italy, it is by using some of the most dangerous women in Germany. I simply went to the strudel mistresses of Bulgaria and said, I have one favor to ask, and then the MD Milk Company will be of service to you and all of your own pastry workings as long as you need, fine ladies. So there was a lot of violence. Once again, I had visited violence upon the shores of Italy, and I felt some guilt for that, but it was all paid off when they were able to sample the chewable, sticky nature of the fine confectionery I had crafted for them, in the name of my grandmother Cumley.
But my lord, were the remaining tigers from your last visit not decimating the Italian population? Was tiger meat not a staple of their diet for 300 years at this point?
300 years, yes, but as you might remember, I left them with only 298 tigers, so by the time they had reached the 300th year, they were beginning to run a little low. The Italian pizza maker's known for his carnivorous greed. So there was a lot of, we should say, non-ration tiger use. By the time I got there, all they really had were rugs, coats, and very strange nail files.
How much time does he have left?
He's finished.
Okay.
You know, you can really get a good feeling for Cumley's mouthfeel, as long as you have it when it's at room temperature.
Done.
Yeah, I think the real question we should have asked is, are you not afraid that Big Mike will burst into your house and murder you at the end of this game?
I'm just,
what do you call it? Every time someone made a joke against Italy, we would have no one left at D20 Live to man it.
I was mostly just trying to cross-promote another great game we've been running.
We were waiting for it, honestly, Vangelis.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think
Twin dads!
it's cheap.
It's cheap.
Alright. Vice Admiral,
Aye.
could you please regale us of the time a cat insulted the honor of your family and how you restored that honor?
Yes, of course.
Are you well, Vice Admiral? You look vexed.
Indeed, recalling this story is very difficult for me and my family, for it was Juneteenth, 1922. We were on a family trip, as we are known to be doing in the deep southeast Pacific, and we were on a very large boat. This is also how pleasure cruises were then invented subsequently, a century later, but it was originally a family affair. We'd we play shuffleboard, take turns singing on stage, and serving each other cut-ed fruit, as it were, from day to day. When we found in some of our luggage a stowaway, an orange cat, the very same orange cats, as all of you know, Mr. Pibbs.
But damn me! But Vice Admiral, was
Yeah.
not Mr. Pibbs historically known at that time to be vacationing in the Alps?
Indeed, the very same. It was a clever body double made up of 13 socks and one rabid mouse. So we
Diabolical intellect, that cat.
held together with comely gum, if you will.
My own goddamn product!
Thank you, Malphus. But he did whence my grandmother was upon stage on my mother's side, giving her rendition of And All That Jazz with her toes upon the keyboard. She was interrupted by the very same Mr. Pibbs with his posable thumbs and his scrungly hair. And he did come out, put 2 thumbs all the way down at her performance. It was a tremendous insult to our family, and he was then strapped to the front of the ship and keel-hauled for a fortnight, unfortunately, to which he survived. Any questions?
Yes, humbug, good sir. You say all this took place on a boat, when it is a fact that Mr. Pibbs detests the water to the point when he would have a fit of rage any time he was near a ship.
Indeed, a clever ruse, one which he had been perpetrating throughout high society for 1,000 years until he could unleash this business upon mine family.
But how are you able to defeat Mr. Pibb when he is a known practitioner of Kung Fu?
Asbestos.
Now, hang on just 1 minute there, sir.
For I knew that I could not defeat him in hand-to-paw combat with his thumbs all the way down. And so, using some temptation streets, we lured him into a hallway filled wall-to-wall, ceiling-to-floor with Russian-grade asbestos.
Now, famously, that pernicious putty-tat Pibb has a boatload, if you will, of asbestos baked into his very flesh. Now, are you trying to tell me this is the very tale that gives the origin of the now fireproof Pibb? Are you responsible for that pugnacious little pussy-tat messing with my business and not even being able to be burned alive with
the very same. In order for him to escape that room of asbestos, he did consume a great deal of it, making him thusly more immortal and inflammable, which actually does mean the same as flammable, as he had never once always been, and then thusly strapped to the front of the ship was the only way in which, in his addled state, consuming the asbestos was the only way that we could get him to the front of the ship.
Diabolically infernal, that mind on that Pibb.
Indeed.
But my lord, this was only one of his 9 lives. Did he not have to have 8 other ones free of asbestos before attaining this title?
Indeed. But as we all know, for every English pound of asbestos that is consumed by a feline, they gain another year of life.
And we're finished there.
All right.
Please, D20 Live does not condone feeding asbestos to your cat. Please do not feed
D20 Live doesn't condone a lot of things we've said today.
Okay. We do promote teaching the cat Kung Fu. That we endorse full-heartedly.
Oh, who's left? Is it me?
And really, any grade of asbestos is fine to use. Like you can use Russian grade, but if you have another one available,
please do not consume asbestos. You will die.
Whose go is it? Is it mine?
No, you won't.
I think it's yours.
Okay.
All right, Governor, could you please regale us of the tale of your sojourn into Hades, for whence no mortal ever returns, and how it is that you are with us now?
Do we want me to do this as my governor voice or as Nauticus? Because there's 2 different answers depending on which voice I'm going through. I'm going to ask the group, not the chat.
Well, you did Nauticus last time, so technically it'd be interesting to switch up to governor.
All right.
But also you could 2 for 2 it.
All right, here we go.
I heard that.
Okay. All right, I got it. As you know, the realm of Hades is incredibly challenging to get into, as documented in several video games, including the God of War franchise, and uniquely the video game Hades. So in order to get in there, I first, of course, had to secure my lifeline out, which is quite an apt name considering I wanted to get out of there alive. So I realized that I had to place myself in a state that was like death, or death adjacent, but not in any way actual death. And the best way to do that is, I bet you can guess it, consuming asbestos.
Oh my god.
A Russian grade asbestos, I assume.
Now, this was not the kind of asbestos consumption that was used to make an inflammable, immortal cat. This was great. This was science. I had a trained medical professional, Dr. Kevorkian, who proceeded... God, that's a dated reference. Who proceeded...
Now, Governor!
Yes?
Governor Gary Boulders now, if I may, consuming Russian-grade asbestos can cause these sorts of immortal and adverse effects upon the feline population, but is immediately and unfortunately lethal for humans to consume. Explain then how you used this grade of asbestos to survive.
Well, it's quite simply, we tainted the grade of asbestos through a discrete amount of use of foreign particulates made entirely from the most weakest asbestos, the French.
I accept this.
Oh, that damn French asbestos.
Sir, are you telling me you mixed French and Russian asbestos, and yet you have no answer for the obvious political ramifications?
I
that
mix
the
French and Russian everything in every aspect of my life, from their cuisine, to their fashion, to their women. I have worn a cassock with a French frill at every public occasion for the last 30 years, and though it has gotten me looks, it has also gotten me respect.
Unquestionably.
Either way, I proceeded down and proceeded to hallucinate, and sure enough saw the steps into mighty Hades and through Tartarus. And as I began to go lower, I realized that due to my innumerable and considerable amount of sins I'd committed in the world, I was fast-tracking it far past Elysium, let me tell you. Or the middle ones, which are adequate. What's up? Dr. Apocalypse was out that day. Please do not consume asbestos written on the street. And once I realized that I was heading for the lowest layer,
What did I say? You mean to tell me your Christian sins were equating in the well to Hades? I think it's preposterous for you to miss theological ideologies like that.
I mix ideologies all the time, and while there are some sins that are only Christian and some sins that are only Greek, some sins are universal, and I unfortunately have murdered far too many men in cold blood in the heat of passion to go anywhere but the lowest levels of darkness. Anyway, as I proceed to descend into Tartarus, which I think is the lowest, evilest one, hard to tell, very high on asbestos, I proceeded to realized I needed to counter sin. Well, counter sin as in by performing virtues, or to level out my descent and ascend to a middle area. So in order to de-sin myself, I decided to start performing virtues, but speaking absolutely no Greek, I just proceeded to yell at people as I flew by, as I descended into Hades, which only confused them, which of course added to my sin count. So when I crashed into Tartarus, I may have gained a concussion.
Now, you were buoying yourself with reverse sins, and as we all know, reverse sins are very low friction and slippery. How were you able to keep them affixed to yourself without them sliding free and rolling down the river Styx?
Well, because I was in a Greek... This is so bad. Because I was in a Greek afterlife, there was a surplus of olive oil and could write it in my body in olive oil. Now then... I didn't know I got the scorn that I thought I was going to get. As I continued to descend, as I found
you say that, we're all just like, yeah, that tracks.
That tracks, yeah.
It's perfectly reasonable. I don't know what you...
Like a Tartarus olive oil, I don't know. Anyway, I, realizing that I had managed to crash land into Tartarus, was surrounded on all sides by murderers. But because Tartarus is the lowest and worst layer, they were also very incompetent murderers. You know, the kind of people that kill 100 people due to a munitions accident and things like that. So I was able to repel them quite effortlessly as I made my way through Hades. And realizing that I needed to ascend and speak to the management, I had to go where the management was. And they... Am I out of time?
You are out of time.
Holy fuck, that felt fast.
More! You didn't even get to see Hades yet!
Well, we'll never know now. All right.
It's just a donate if they want to hear that one.
I'm hoping it's the James Woods version.
All right. Please type in the chat who you think won that one.
Also, fill out the survey, or you may have to eat.
Yes, the survey.
Also,
for the greater good, the survey.
Fill out the survey, or eat asbestos. Do not eat asbestos. Therefore, fill out the survey.
I love that that's on the stream. Please do not consume asbestos.
Yeah, that's going to be the next the D20 shirt. D20 Live. Do not eat asbestos.
Please do not.
Please do not consume asbestos.
100% asbestos free.
Absolutely truthful and practical. Intellectual, even.
We might actually need to make that into a shirt. Please do
Do
not
not
consume asbestos.
I'm gonna roll up on Anime North with the "Please do not consume asbestos" shirt, and have people go, "What's the shirt for?" Mike's like, "It's complicated." Did I tell you?
It's complicated.
Just look him in the eye and go, just great life advice, man. Just great life advice.
I'll be there marketing this shirt, just being like, "This is our new shirt. Please do not consume asbestos." How did that come up?
Instructions unclear. Consume too much asbestos. All right. So for people who are in the chat, enter into the chat who you think won that round. Just list whoever's name it is there, because there's loads of people in the chat, but people aren't saying anything.
Yeah, we have one vote for Chief. We have one vote for Vangelis.
They're busy filling out the survey as they are supposed to.
Fill out the survey, yes. Fill out the survey.
I'm gonna go to a t-shirt company, store, production, whatever. I want to try to get a shirt printed that just says "Comely" in like big impact font.
Please don't. Please don't.
Please don't do that.
We're gonna make a shirt that says words Chris is not allowed to say anymore, and it's comely, Snugmilla, mouthfeel. Those are the words.
My family names. I'm not. This is preposterous. This is
I have a feeling that regardless of who wins this round, the real winner is asbestos.
Big Asbestos has come out on top and didn't even pay any of us, I think.
Alright, considering the fact that we only have 9 minutes left, I'm going to consider the winner at this point Asbestos.
Natural.
Yeah. Lost
Yay!
Object.
Alright, you know what? For the last 9 minutes, how about this? Everybody, how did you manage to bring back the Atari Lynx from the brink of extinction? Thank you, Tip, for donating $5 and for that prompt.
Bring back the what from the brink of extinction?
Atari Lynx.
You know, the console.
Oh my god.
It was the Atari Lynx was a handheld console that literally was a color console, and the fact that you don't remember it shows you just how bad the fucking thing was marketed.
Well, naturally, we had to go to the source of all Atari products, the landfill where the E.T. games had been buried in.
It was very arduous. It was dangerous, and we had to go by boat.
The problem was we had to defeat the angry video game nerd who is known on full moons to hang out there and scavenge it for parts.
But he has one faithful weakness.
Alcohol.
Asbestos.
Asbestos-filled drunk weaknesses that we all applied at the same time.
Alcohol, women, asbestos. We simply had to wrap the front of the boat in alcohol, asbestos, and women to drive off that natural
We crafted a woman out of asbestos and booze and threw it at him. Really, it was the concussion what got him.
From there, we gathered as many E.T. cartridges as we could and laid them out in a demonic semicircle to begin the ritual.
The very same.
Of course, we lack the medium by which of blood to summon up the Atari Lynx out of the ether, so we needed to find a sufficient material used to make such a thing, and that, of course, was...
Asbestos.
Milk.
Pudding. Dark chocolate pudding
We
teeth.
had multiple conclaves of ideas, so we made a slurry of both milk products.
That would be the very comely slurry that that Vangelis was speaking of.
The secret ingredient was always asbestos.
It did work. That particular combination did bring about Belphegor from the underworld, who said, I grant you one wish, collectively. And we tried to negotiate that was unfair, but there was an impasse, so we moved on.
Sam, are you writing please do not consume asbestos across the board?
In capitals.
So, with Belphegor in tow, we've decided to try and revive anything that we could. However, due to our sloppy medium, they had to be an Atari-related thing. So as we were all put off, we decided to issue a curse upon the land and blight it with ineffective consoles. But since we couldn't resummon the Wonder Swan, we resummoned the Atari Lynx.
It was very embarrassing. I, for one, was hoping for somewhere between the Virtual Boy and the Nokia N-Gauge spelt without a U.
But truly, we had decided to challenge ourselves at this point. We were all, men of the world, undoubtedly accomplishing more in an afternoon than most men in a lifetime could. So we thought, let's try a challenge. And we chose the Lynx, an outdated, terrible console which I believe sold less than 100,000 anythings.
Had very good hand feel on the buttons.
However, it had terrible visual feel on the screen, having more black parts to the CRT screen than there are chocolate teeth in certain diminutive people. Either way.
Indeed. But sadly, this is where the story turns dark, for after we had completed the ritual, it was at that point the angry video game nerd regained consciousness and saw what we had done.
Yes, he ran at us, cursing our names, spitting asbestos from his mouth in a slurry and flurry of foul language and curses at us, trying to banish us from this world.
Yes,
I tried to placate him with a warm, sticky cup of my Milky Delights. He simply fobbed me off like nothing.
Yeah, I believe he bit one of us too and transferred some sort of a curse, did he not?
Yes, but I got it beat last Thursday.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, congratulations.
So, of course, we had to tactfully disable him so that he could no longer cause any harm. So, knowing that he was a video gamer and mayhap lacked cardio, we challenged him to a foot race across the hills of Spain.
The Spaniards were very amenable, as they had a sort of lack of tourism at the time.
Due to their crushingly bad economy.
Indeed.
And the after effects of the Italian War of the Tigers.
Brought about by that pizza business.
But of course, none of us wished to perspire in a race. So while he left on foot quickly, we hopped into our motor cars and drove promptly and smoothly over the hills of Spain.
It was at that point that one of us, I can't recall who, said, wouldn't it just be easier to hit him with the car and run over him? At which point, we were quite embarrassed we hadn't thought of this plan beforehand. And
You see, I had just watched Mad Max the night before, and I simply thought, why don't we just run the bugger over and be done with the whole thing? This, of course, turned out to be a very foul thing, as it gave him some kinds of superpowers, as I recall.
You took potential energy and frictioned it into a man who had just supped upon asbestos and fine milky products. What else did you expect to happen other than a cataclysmic explosion of superpower?
I expected vehicular homicide, as it has happened every other time I've used a car to kill a man.
This was the exception, of course, for after the explosion, we dusted ourselves off, and there stood a glowing, radioactive, asbestos-fueled, angry video game nerd.
Absolutely uninterested in my comely delights.
Yes.
I thought Chief was going to speak up about how we defeated.
We tried placating him with that Rolling Rock beer that he liked, copies of Super Mario Bros. 3. Nothing could sway him from the devilish action he was about to take upon us.
Thankfully, his cardio skills were still absolute rubbish, so it gave us the time to prepare a cage made only of the worst video games imaginable.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Indeed, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde it was.
The very worst game in creation.
Thankfully, we were in Spain, and they had a surplus of it there in a small burned-out factory that was maintained and guarded by one goat.
And
Yes, L. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is what we placated him with and trapped him in.
They say he's still there to this day.
And if you listen closely upon the winds, you can still hear him screaming and stuffing as much asbestos down his throat as humanly possible.
Do the survey was what he was screaming at us.
Do the survey!
Is how we
put you in the cage!
And that is how we returned the Atari Lynx back to the land.
And on another note, Sam, do you now have do not consume asbestos rolling across the street?
Yes, I believe it's important.
My mesothelioma.
I think that's it. We got like 1 minute
That's
left.
it. That's fine. We can end it here.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
What a note to end the year on.
Consume asbestos. Do not. Is that going to be the shirt like that written like 5 or 6 times?
Yeah, just in a block, just like written down.
Please do not consume asbestos.
Can't say the products of the MD Milk Company contain no asbestos and are quite safe to consume.
Except for that one edition we made with the Angry Video Game Nerd, which now with asbestos.
That's a Spanish exclusive.
Spanish exclusive.
Oh, man.
Oh, gods.
I hope people had fun today. I certainly did.
I did.
I got a real craving for asbestos all of a sudden.
Please do not consume asbestos.
Yeah, it's probably a really good idea to eat it, I think. I just got that impression from this whole stream.
Please do not consume asbestos.
But Sam, cotton candy looks like asbestos. How am I going to tell the difference?
I meant, it could be here, it could be there, and I'm going to mix them up. What if I find out it tastes amazing?
Sounds like a really uncool adult kind of thing to be saying, like, don't eat the asbestos. Sounds like the kind of thing a teacher would say, and if there's one thing that, cartoons taught me is don't listen to teachers and adults.
Indeed.
What a way to end the year. Mpreg, mouthfeel, and do not consume asbestos.
It's a good way to end the year, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Three whole t-shirt ideas for free.
Do not steal, by the way, Chad. Do not steal.
Just a shirt with giant impact font that just says Mpreg with asbestos written in small letters beneath it. It's an in-joke.
Because if we see bootleg versions of these shirts, we will send our asbestos lawyers after you.
We will make
that
you
one cat.
eat the shirt covered in asbestos.
But from all of us here at D20 Live, thank you for being a part of our adventures this year. Thank you very much for all of the fun that we have gotten the chance to have. We will definitely be back next year with more fun entertainment. We'll be taking a bit of a break in January, though we will have the Q&A stream, but we'll set up the date for that and announce it. Until then, we hope you have a very, very lovely holiday season. But it has not just been about me. It has been about all of my players. So, would everyone kindly introduce themselves one last time, starting from the bottom with Chief?
Yes, I am Connell Macbeth. I stream Monday to Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on our channel, twitch.tv/chief_Macbeth, where we play a number of games. I'm actually a VTuber, so you don't get to see my goofy face. I'm a digital person who looks very similar.
We only get that privilege to see your
Yes.
We earned it.
We did earn it.
Yes, you did.
Up next, we have Vangelis.
Yeah, I'm Chris. I'm Vangelis. I'm on YouTube, youtube.com/@Vangelis. I'm also, I believe, where am I on here? I'm Vangelis on Blue Sky. I'm Vangelis Central on Instagram. I do a lot of toy-related stuff, also some streaming stuff, mostly on YouTube right now. So come on by and hang out. The streams are fun, and I have not a VTuber, but I have a weird puppet thing I operate with a mouse during my pre-show. No. I'm sure that can be automated, but I don't know how.
Pretty cool.
And next, of course, we have Tom.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom of D20 Live in the 404s. I want to say thank you very much for everything we've done today. And from the bottom of my heart, asbestos is delicious.
Please don't
Stop doing that. You're gonna get someone hurt over a meme.
I didn't say eat it. I just said it was delicious.
Do not consume No, don't give me a standing ovation.
And last but certainly not least, Byron.
Hi, everybody. Byron from D20 Live and lover of Comatessas. Thank you very much for having me.
And of course, Sam, our production manager, who should not go without this year without saying hello and goodbye to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yes.
I'm Sam, the production manager, and yeah, come join us over at the Optimal Duel as well, because that's where Mike and I just play some video games to wind down the year.
Yeah. And of course, thank you to the D20 Live crew. Oh boy, that's a list. To Dave, to Jordan, to Devin, to Nikki, to Dom, to Beth, to Cassie,
Mames.
And Mames, and to everyone who couldn't make it, to all the guests who helped us with the charity stream and at Anime North. Thank you, everyone, for helping us this year and helping make sure that we gave you some of the best entertainment on the internet. We will be back next year, But until then,
Well, thank everybody here on the chat as well, because of the fact that without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to do our amazing charity stream and make our goal for cancer research.
Definitely. Thank you so much to you fans who have kept us going throughout all of the mess of the last few years and ensuring that we could provide you with entertaining content. And until we meet again, stay home, stay safe, and stay kind. We will see you again. Bye.
Bye. Do the survey.
Do the survey. Don't eat asbestos.
Do the survey.
Do not eat asbestos.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Survey.